All right, episode 7 of Friends for Good. Good to be back. Zach, I'm doing this show from Chicago. That's why I've got the different background. But I wanted to bring you this figure of the podcasts that make it to 21 episodes. That makes puts you in the 1% of all podcasts. And we're a third of the way there, 7 episodes in, or this is the third episode. So a little shout out to us, a little pat on the back. But obviously we want to do this for a lot longer than 21 episodes, but little milestone that we're going to celebrate because we're chugging this thing long. But of course, the theme today that I brought up to Zach earlier in the week is why it's important for everything in your life to be an addition and not a necessity. Now, what does that mean? Honestly, it's a conversation that I had with my roommate, Cameron Ezier, earlier in the week. And it's just sort of this mind state where nothing in your life should become so prevalent where you wouldn't be okay without it, whether that's a relationship, whether it's something that you consume, your circumstances, your job, just something that if it were going to be taken away, because nothing is guaranteed, you'd still be well, like you'd still be fine. And I think it is biggest with relationships. And I'll kind of get into that later, but I think we'll start with our news stories. And Zach, just because I'm in Chicago, I want to share my first story first because it kind of pertains to some news that's relevant here in Chicago. So 4 years ago, the city of Chicago implemented this sort of like rule basically where students in the Chicago greater area could use their student IDs as library cards. Basically, your student ID doubled as a library card, and then you got access to all the libraries in this area or in the greater Chicago metropolitan area. And I think they're trying to expand it to even more libraries at this point, but I think that's really cool. And I got a figure here that since doing that, library attendance among teens in the Chicago area has spiked more than 60%.
It's yeah, I mean that's really astounding to me because I never really found myself going to the library too often, but I will say that if you're a student and especially someone that doesn't have adequate access to resources and the information you need, um, obviously the library is the perfect place for that, but just being able to guarantee that you can go there for free with your student
Yep.
ID, it's an essential service and it shouldn't be overlooked because that's a great thing that they offer.
No, I think it's really cool. And I was saying that I'm pretty sure Shaker Heights High School had a similar situation where you could use the Shaker Public Library as long as you showed your student ID, which I always thought was fun just to like, especially during COVID, get out of your house, go to a space and go study or whatever have you. But they're expanding this to pretty much all libraries in the greater Chicago area. So I thought that was pretty cool. And yeah, that was my first good news story. And I guess not sure how much it ties into our theme, but just a good news story all around.
100%. And I'm happy you shared. My story this week, it's also in the same vein of not being super applicable to our theme, but I just really wanted to highlight it. Something I was always really kind of nervous about for the world is, honeybees, just with the climate changing and being scared that, if we can't pollinate and make food, we're kind of cooked. Um,
Okay.
so on the flip side of that, scientists and an agri-tech company, they created a red light therapy device and it actually sits inside beehives. And so the early results show that the red light, it actually helps bees live longer, recover faster, and they pollinate more effectively. And what it's a critical service because 60% of US honeybee colonies were lost in a single winter. So,
Really?
yes. So obviously, if you're unfamiliar with the importance of bees, bees are essential to basically everything we eat. Uh, the plant, all of our plants, just life itself.
Right on. Yeah.
If we don't have bees, we're cooked. The light works. The way it works is that it boosts the bee's mitochondria in the cell that produces energy. And so it leads to like stronger immunity and better vision and more efficient energy use. And in the trials, even stressed colonies, they recovered after days of exposure to this red light.
Huh.
Yeah. And
I
so,
that's
oh, go
hey,
ahead.
that hey, bees and pollinating flowers and all that is definitely an addition to my life. Oh, and we got my sister walking in behind us.
Hey, Morgan.
Hey. That's definitely getting in the show.
Yeah, absolutely. How was your day? What was your win of the day?
What was your win of the day?
We finished semi on time and all our patients were satisfied.
Boom.
Let's go.
Money.
Let's
Money.
go, man. But yeah, I mean, just a key takeaway from the story is that we rely on bees for every facet of our life, and sometimes big global problems, they don't need complex solutions. It's just a smart idea that works. So I love that story. It
I
made me
like
more.
that. I'm gonna go back to the Artemis launch from last week. So, Zach, I don't know if you knew this, but the crew, when they went around the moon, obviously they were taking pictures and doing all these great things for science. They discovered a huge crater on the other side of the moon, and of course, they got to name it. And I don't know if you knew this, but Commander Reed Wiseman's wife passed away a few years ago, so they named the crater after her. The crater's
That's
name is Carol.
that's beautiful. This was on the other side, like the side we hadn't previously gone. Yeah.
Yep. Yep. So just thought that was really cool. And honestly, he got pretty serious about how he feels like his time as a single parent, he said he called it the greatest challenge and the most rewarding phase of his life. But it goes back to our theme a little bit because you think, yep, his wife was everything to him, huge part of his life, but still an astronaut, two beautiful children, still doing all these great things. Like his life is still full, and his wife was definitely an additive to it. And now he gets to kind of have this testament moment to her for the rest of her life. And I thought that was really cool.
I think that's such a great story for our theme, especially because when you think about it, without this intrinsic belief in himself that he could be there for his children and be an astronaut and know that he has that within him to do both, this isn't possible. And
Yeah.
and he achieved, what many would call, something that people don't even dream of because it's so far-fetched is what he's on.
It's like it almost feels impossible.
And he couldn't have done that if there were things holding him back by necessity. He is what's necessary for himself to succeed, and I thought that was a great story.
I love that last bit there, which should just kind of fold right into our conversation because the reason I brought this up is because a lot of having additions in your life not being necessities is because the only thing you really need is yourself. And that's the only necessity like you really need in yourself or in your life, excuse me. And that's why I really like this theme because I was thinking about all the stuff in my life that I get to do, like going to the gym, working, seeing friends, like those are all things that are a plus in my life, but none of them would be things if I wasn't like a constant, if I wasn't here. So that's why I like that theme. And I wanted to bring it back to relationships because I think about how you and I are still really good friends. You are very much an addition to my life, but it's not like we're talking every day. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. I think there's also with our relationship specifically, there's not like a codependence there. But what I was going to say was just bring it back to even romantic relationships. This idea that, like, for me and you are kind of in the same boat. I think we're both looking for a girlfriend. But I always think about, and it's such a cliche, and I hear it all the time, and it honestly makes me, it pisses me off, but it is the truth, and that is you'll find it when you're not looking for it.
Yeah.
And it's sort of one of those things where, like, if you devote all your time to yourself and making yourself just the best person that you can be, you'll find someone that resonates with that and that only adds to your life, but doesn't require you to give up, these parts of yourself that make you who you are.
Ye-
Um,
Wow. Yeah, dude, that was huge. Yeah. Yeah, I
so
mean, no, you're so right. And I'm trying to gather my thoughts here because I remember the reason I like brought this up because I just remember like looking back at past relationships and just being like, at some point when you get in a relationship where you build up a little codependency, it starts to kind of weigh on you a little bit, especially if you're the person that's really needed more than loved, if that makes sense.
mhm.
Because then you feel this weight like, man, I need to deliver for this person or they're not going to be well. And then I think it just really drives a divide between both people because one person's trying to manage his expectations and one person is leaning on that person to pretty much drive their well-being altogether.
100%. I think guilt kind of plays a role in that as well. It's almost like you start to feel like if you're not giving this person, everything and so that they can feel okay, you know, guilt can play a role, but it's honestly like I don't know, any relationship that I want to be in the future is one where we both mutually are like independent but love each other, and it's in the exact vein of the theme where we're just additions to each other's lives, but there's not a sense of like I need to do this for you or you're not going to be well, and then it takes away from me as well.
Yep.
um and this brings me into my first quote because
I love it.
the freedom, this is from Dozentamata. Okay.
Shout
um
out Dozentamata.
Dozentamata. The freedom to be yourself is a gift only you can give to yourself, but once you do, no one can take it away. And it's sort of one of those things where for me, I have to kind of always remind myself to not be an imposter, like to always reflect on what I actually want in any given moment in time, and actually be aware of doing the right thing for myself. And it's not selfish. It's about
No.
it's kind of the thing I always told you. You just have to take care of number one, because if you're not taking care of number one, you're not going to be able to take care of anybody else.
And also like you always say, at the end of the day, like if you've got no one, the only person that's going to take care of you is yourself. You know, like
Yes.
obviously, you got good people around you, but numero uno is always number one, and that's the person that you got to fall back on because you're the only necessity in your life. You're the only constant. Zach, can you read that quote one more time too for our listeners?
Yes. The freedom to be yourself is a gift only you can give yourself. But once you do, no one can take it away.
I think that goes back to like love and like relationship and authenticity too, because I think when you try and be someone that you're not in some of these relationships, that in and of itself makes you a necessity because you're changing who you are. You're not really an addition if you're not who you are because you're trying to like manifest this unauthentic thing for this other person to be what they need instead of who you actually are.
And you couldn't have said that any better. I think a huge part in that is it's exactly what you said, that you're giving someone else what they need without giving it to yourself. But those relationships also just can't last.
Yeah.
The truth will come out about your actual nature, and it'll crumble from there. And
And
I
and it's
yeah.
just kind of like a farce. And actually, this leads in perfectly to my first quote. Zach, this quote is actually I didn't write who wrote this down, but I'll say it's my quote. Intimacy is the capacity to be weird with someone and finding out that that's okay with them.
Yeah, I love that so much. If I can't be, weird around you, like
Like I'm
it's gonna
like
be
I'm not
hard.
like like I've always said like I like the term weird because I think everyone's got their own little like quirks and like being weird. But I've got some weirdness to me and like
No, you're a weirdo, bro.
you think I'm a
You're
weirdo? All right, well there you go. I mean, like, listen, if I can't show you my Ben 10 watch, like, you're not for me. That's all I gotta say.
no, for
Like,
real.
like, you're not gonna be an addition to my life if you can't rock with the Ben 10 watch, you know?
Yeah. And it's like when I send you my Pokemon card pulls every day, like she doesn't actually have to like them, but she's got to be like, oh damn, like that's kind of cool, or at least like appease me a little bit. Like,
Yeah, no, dude, that is so facts. Like, if you're not liking my Pokemon cards, just because it makes my day when I hear that like someone else enjoy, like, so true, so true. And also just like shout out that app because my day is made every time you send me something like a good poll. Um, mm. Actually, okay, I got one more quote here, and then we'll get to yours. Just because I was thinking about this the other day. There is no exercise better for the heart than reaching down and lifting people up. I really
mm,
like that one.
yes.
Because they always say like nice guys finish last, but sometimes I feel like we're running a different race.
Hmm.
Like you know, it's a lot harder to, you know, lift people up. And they always say relationships are supposed to be 50-50, but I think sometimes you carry more weight than other days. Like you got to lift other people up, just like they'll do the same. And I think that's how you really become an addition in someone's life and how they become an addition in yours when they carry some of the weight some days and then you carry weight the other days.
Absolutely. It's all situational. Like, I mean, I'll be honest, like today. was not an amazing day for me. And I'll be honest with me and my like I called my mom because I just wasn't having an amazing day, just like kind of off kilter a little bit. And and honestly, in our relationship, she gives a lot more than I give to her, I think. But it's sort of the point of like I my mom is such an addition to my life, and I think just hearing her voice and having her call me, it changed everything
Yeah.
out my day just because I needed to let that out. And I also really liked what you said about I think in before we got to this quote, we were kind of talking about taking care of yourself and so that you can be the best person you can be. But there's also the fact of in being an addition, not necessity. It's not just about getting additions to your life. It's about being an addition to other people.
Yeah.
And so because you can't expect people to add to your life if you're not giving anything back.
Right.
It's all yin and yang. Um and oh go ahead. Were you about to say something?
Can I just add one more thing to that really
Yeah.
quick? I was just gonna say, like, I think, and maybe correct me if I'm wrong, but I feel like when I'm in a relationship, or even when I'm really like preparing for work or anything, like the way that I prepare or work on my body or really do anything, it's all for the betterment of the other people because I know that if I'm my best, I'm rising to the occasion for other people so that I can be that addition in their lives, you
I
know?
I think that's such an interesting dialogue you bring up because we're human beings in general are we're all collaborative every single day. You know, the train I take to work, the moment I get into work, the sales team I work with, like if I don't have my best, you know, at any given point in the day, there is something that goes off, even if it's just a little bit.
Right.
And and it's about putting your best foot forward so that you can make the team the best that it can be. All right, so this is my second quote. People can't be your happiness. They either amplify it or destroy it. And that depends on how much you need them. So it all has to come from you at the end of the day. The energy you give off and the energy you want to receive, it's all within you. And being dependent on other people, entirely dependent, kind of allows them to manipulate how you're feeling any given day. But it's important to kind of reject that. Like these outside circumstances, these outside people are not going to affect what's going on in my day. It's all within me.
That
Um,
is such a good point. Like, I also think that goes back to what we've talked about earlier. Like, you want to surround yourself with the best possible people to help you become the best possible person you can be because truly you are a product of your own environment, right? And it's going to be hard to do certain things if you're not surrounded with, good people. And I think it's also you're kind of your company you keep, right? Like it kind of bleeds off on everything that you do, but then everything you become as well. And I think this like addition versus necessity conversation goes even farther beyond being in a relationship because like if you're around lazy people, if you're around people that like don't want to take care of themselves, don't want to help themselves, chances are like that's going to happen to you. And that could be something small like you know, like not going to the gym or not eating right or, you know, just not like not taking care of yourself. And then that kind of leads to like probably a whole other conversation. But um that's honestly why I brought up this theme because I feel like I've fallen into that trap sometimes of, seeing certain people do a certain thing this way and then me being like, okay, that's probably okay because that's why they're doing it. And then you realize those people are not really being an addition to your life when they're doing that because they're setting your bar a little lower.
100. Yeah. It reminds me of something my mom would always say, and I don't think she's the originator of this line, but she always told me, you are not a product of your environment. You create your environment. And so
Oh,
the people you surround yourself with at the end of the day really are a reflection of you. And obviously, those people are going to change the same way you're going to change. But if you are able to recognize that within that environment, you are still your own unique person. And if they're not going to the gym and they're not taking care of themselves, or they're, I don't know, maybe neglecting important things in their life, that does not have to be you. You can escape that, and it's all within you. And I've fallen into the same trap of like at certain points of college where like I was kind of just bumming around and like not doing what I was
yeah.
supposed to do. And I think a lot of times I would blame it on maybe like I don't know, living in my frat house. But there were plenty of guys that lived in our fraternity house that got in better shape and you know, ran an Ironman. Shout out my friend Marcus. Like it's at the end of the day, there's not many outside circumstances that can prevent you from being you.
Can I ask you a follow-up to that?
Yeah, absolutely.
Were there ever moments where you were like, I gotta like pick myself up out of this situation because I know it's bad for me?
Absolutely. And I'm going to talk about Marcus one more time, but my junior year spring, that was a really kind of bad semester for me. Like I kind of started to stop taking care of myself and just really just let myself go. And so right as soon as that summer break started, my friend Marcus, he called me and he was like, "Hey dude, I'm just going to be honest with you. Like I'm not going to be like you are not the same person that I met and that I became insanely close with. Like
Mm,
you need to figure this out." And that call genuinely changed my life because hearing that, because I genuinely love Marcus, but the fact that he said that to me with such sincerity in the sense of like almost implying like he's not going to surround himself with like a bum, like
yeah.
because that's not fair to him. That's me taking away from his energy. Not that he could ever let that happen, but it's one of those things where not only did I realize I had to pick myself up and I knew that at the time, but just being reassured by someone that cares about me that is an addition to my life
Yeah.
really changed everything.
And even on top of that, like he wanted you to be an addition in his life so badly that he was begging you to be the man that he knew you could be.
Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah.
So I'm really grateful for him and he's someone I look up to for sure.
Hey, those are the additions we want in our life. Shout out Marcus. I think that's a perfect segue to get to our silent heroes. I remember you said you had one earlier when we talked over the phone. So why don't you kick us off first?
I did. So this guy, he's all over the news right now. Kirk Moore, principal of his school, he tackled a active shooter in the lobby. And the
Yeah.
security footage shows almost zero hesitation. The gunman has the gun in his hand. Principal comes out of the corner, tackles him, detains him, and waits until another person can help him. And I watched that video just with like awe. You always wonder if you can be heroic in a situation that calls for it.
Yep.
That man is the principal of his school, the definition of leading by example, protecting those students, protecting himself, stopping a tragedy. Um, yes, he's been recognized everywhere, but there really isn't enough recognition for that. He is a hero. I wanted to highlight him. Shout out to you, Kirk Moore. I I'm pretty speechless by what I saw in that video. So
I saw that exact same video, Zach, and I think that was genuinely the definition of being a superhero. Like
yes,
the number of lives he probably saved that day. Like we will never know. And thank God. Like
thank God.
he genuinely put himself on the line. That is a excellent silent hero. And yes, he is getting the recognition he deserves because that was heroic. Really, really good silent hero. Shout out Kirk Moore. Do you remember the high school or the school he was a part of?
Pauls Valley High School principal Kirk Moore in Oklahoma.
Yeah, that's huge. This is my silent hero will be pretty. This is tough to follow up, but my silent hero this week are the people at AAA. So I played my first round of golf outside yesterday, or what was this? Wednesday, because episode's going to drop on Friday. And I'm putting my golf clubs in my car, close the trunk, and then I realize I locked my keys in my trunk. Happens. Not my proudest moment, but thank God Hyundai roadside assistance was able to send some AAA guy to me, and he literally solved it within 25 minutes. So that was huge. I thank those people that do those jobs because they're not the most glamorous, and I don't, I don't think anybody aspires to say like I want to be a AAA worker one day, but he did a really good thing, and I really appreciated him. I think his name was Bernard. So shout out Bernard and shout out all the people at AAA because that was awesome and certainly made my week probably.
And and I feel like AAA, like it's one of the, it's kind of one of those niche sections of essential work that
Yep.
doesn't get the recognition of being essential work, but it
Mhm.
is. If they they helped you with an immense problem at the time, and if they didn't exist, and if he didn't exist, like
Oh, I'd have been screwed. Yeah.
yeah, exactly. So shout out to him, absolutely. That's definitely a hero.
And Zach, I want to give you my win of the week first, but I want to kind of preface it on why I chose this win. Because it actually hasn't happened yet. It will happen tomorrow. Well, it'll happen Friday when this episode drops that night. So obviously, I'm in Chicago. But the reason I'm here is because I'm celebrating Joey Mazzoni's birthday. And I remember a couple weeks ago, I forget which episode it was, you brought up going out of your way to celebrate someone's birthday, even if it's an inconvenience to you. And it's not that this is an inconvenience to me, but I did take a PTO day. I did drive, 3.5 hours to get here. But like, I'm just showing up for our friend and I'm really excited. I haven't seen him in a while. And, Joey's one of the best people we know, super charismatic, super funny, works really hard. So my win of the week is just seeing him and showing up. Like, I just think it'll be really fun. And I remember you saying that, and I was like, I gotta bring this up and set the stage because that's why it's my win.
I think what you're doing is great. I wish I could be there too. Um,
A
Joey,
little,
happy
little bit easier for me.
yes. Joey, happy birthday. I love you. I miss you. And I'm happy you get to celebrate your birthday with Carson. Um, I going off that, I have two wins of the week. One is that I'm celebrating Will Hankel's birthday with him on Saturday. Another friend from our friend group in Cleveland. I've seen him once since moving to New York. And so I'm just really excited to see him again. So, Will, happy birthday. And my second win is dialing in with Jonah. So, Jonah's my roommate, and we just kind of all this sudden last week, we were just like, all right, we gotta start taking care of business. Like, we gotta stop making stuff. We gotta start cooking again. We gotta start going to the gym. And Jonah is just really a motivation in my life and someone that I'm happy that we're on the same page about just getting better together. And I think that's just the definition of what we were talking about. Like, he's an addition to my life
Yeah.
that I'm grateful for. So
And how nice is it to have an addition in your life like that will do this with you? Because obviously it's hard to go through things alone. Like you said, it's physically difficult to be lonely, and be by yourself all the time. And for him to, be right with you, doing this thing together, dialing in together. I love it. Because you guys will push each other and motivate each other to keep going and keep doing good stuff. So shout out Jonah, man. Shout out Jonah.
absolutely. Well, that wraps up our show for today. Thank you all for tuning in. Carson, any final messages?
No, I think that's good. I would say, as always, follow us on Instagram at friends for good __. Follow the YouTube, subscribe, listen to us on Spotify or wherever you get your podcasts. And yeah, 7 episodes in, a lot more to go. We'll see you next week.